Alright, finally we'll get into the part where we need to render our footage. And before I go on, I would like to show you how to save your project. When you're done, or at any point in time where you're working and you want to save your project, all you need to do is go to the file and click on save, and then to bring out this drop like a dialog box on where you want to save it on your system. So let me just show you this, but this time I'm going to click on save as. Right, so if you are saving for the first time, you're going to have something like this. Because I've saved this project already, that's why I didn't click on save. So you're going to have something like that. It's going to ask you, where do you want to save this? So I'm going to just overwrite what I have here and replace, and that's about it. So that's how you save your project. Now let's move on to the interesting part when you can actually render your video. But before that, I would like to let you know that don't just limit yourself to just pictures or videos, or you can also add sound to this. All you need to do is just bring them in just the way we brought them in. And in short, let me just quickly show you how to bring sound into this. Go to your footage, then go to the sound. We have a folder sound there where we have like a free orange free music or something there. Just drop it on top of your footage, and as soon as you do that, if you press L on audio, you press L. So this is actually where you control the audio levels, how loud or how low it's going to be. If you double tap LL, you see the sound wave. So I can do something like this. I can just take it back, right? And I can preview this. So I'm going to play this. Let's see how it's going to go. So the reason why the sound is not smooth is because it's still trying to render. I think I've been able to preview my sound, and so far so good. This sound is of course, obviously this is longer than the composition. So what I can do is this: I'll press L, then go to my audio levels. Let's say in 8 seconds, just click on audio level, just set your keyframe there. So at this point, it will still maintain that particular volume. Then in 10 seconds, just type this and just put -11 or -10. So we are going to have something like a fade out towards the end, right? And I think you know how that is going to play out. So right now, what I want to do is just render this footage. We are done. We are ready to deliver this video project to the client. So there are two ways at which you can render. You can render from After Effects straight, or you render using Adobe encoder. So I'm going to go to File. I want to show you how to render from After Effects straight. File, and go to Export, then click on Add to Render Queue. But let me warn you, rendering with After Effects, most especially this version, it does not have a very good compressed format. So it's going to render it in large files. So I will actually suggest that don't render in After Effects, render in Adobe encoder. Let me just show you how to render in After Effects, then we jump straight to the encoder. So this very first rendering settings, click on it. It's on best settings already. You don't need to mess with anything. Just click on OK. Then click on the lossless, and then you can change the file format, right? All this format works just fine, but there's no H.264, which is practically MP4. We don't have that here. So the best, right, you can choose from here is QuickTime, right? And even with this, the file is still going to be really, really large. So I'm just going to click on OK. Your output, this is where you need to change where you want to save it as. So I can just select it here and save. Let me replace, and then you click on render. It will start rendering. So as you can see, it's rendering. So this process depends on your system performance and how well or how upgraded your system is, the RAM, the video memory, the graphics card. So it makes use of that. My system is actually making noise right now. That's because I'm doing a lot on it. And our rendering is done. And as soon as it's done, you can always go back to your file where you save it. You can see this file is 768 MB. This is for a 10-second video. Of course, it does not make sense. So we need to use encoder. Now, another way of you rendering this is when you go back to the composition, right? The same way, File, Export, Add to Adobe Media Encoder. Click on it once, and as soon as you do, it will launch Adobe Encoder. So you definitely need to install Adobe Encoder for this particular part, and I will encourage you to try and download it, and it's going to come up. So as soon as you have Adobe Encoder, you are going to see this. And don't worry, this is all this does is just render. There's nothing like maybe editing or adding effect or anything. So all this does is just render your footage. So by default it will be on H.264, which is practically MP4, right? And we have other options as well, right? So this, when you click on this, you have other options where you can also render other formats. So it's on the default already, and here you don't need to even change this. All you need to do is just click on this, then select where you want to save this, right? And then just click save, and then click on the play button here, and of course it will start rendering. And by the way, if you are checking on the left side, so this is where you need to just access the files. If you want to access some files directly from here, and of course all the settings here that you see are the same thing that you see here as well, right? So that's practically all about Adobe Encoder. So we are going to wait for this to render now. So it's almost done rendering now, and as soon as it's done, that's it. So you can even click on this it will just take you where you saved it as. As you can see, this is about 12 MB compared to the very first option that we did, which is of course way better. So that is it for the course. In the next video we'll be talking about next step.